We're into the first week of September. And it doesn't seem 5 minutes since I was sat here, although it was several months ago now. It was in the spring. I think the bluebells were out. And sometimes you forget just how beautiful woodland in late summer can be. That sort of period between sort of the glorious freshness of spring and the glorious gold of autumn. You tend to think that it all becomes a little bit drab and perhaps stale, but when you get the right light coming through the trees, it just looks as beautiful now as it did in those first days of spring. And today, it's just like that, absolutely beautiful. I don't think it helps that as full of wildlife woodland is, it tends to appear empty once you get past sort of July and the birds stop singing. Those spring warblers whose songs continuously make up the background noise of the spring are all now starting to head south, and they've stopped singing weeks ago. They're still here in parts, but they don't hang around so much now. And indeed, there's a little bit of visible migration I've noticed as I walked from the car to this point. It's all a part of change now. It's gone from being a cacophony of bird songs to the rustle of the breeze through the trees. There are still odd calls, but instead of being songs to attract mates, they're now contact calls to keep in touch with those mates. And species like blue tits and wrens, coal tits, nuthatches as well, tree creepers. Softer calls generally, but calls which mean something to another blue tit, wren, tree creeper, etc. What does change about woodland is that the further you go into summer, before the leaves start to change colour, it gets darker. Darker because of the canopy of leaves in spring. Even though it appears to be a full canopy of leaves, most of those leaves haven't stopped growing yet, so they still let a certain amount of light in, more so than what the trees do now. But you can still appreciate the beauty of a woodland, I think, this time of year, before we have that final burst of colour. The tree's finale at the end of another year. And for the last couple of weeks, before we've started to have a bit more rain, the leaves have been dropping off those trees. They did the same in 2022, and they've done it in other years too. You get a late period of dryness and they'll start to defoliate early and shut down. It's the silver birch that's done most of it this year. But it's just beautiful sitting in woodland. I do enough of it, but quite often it's night time. But it's still equally as beautiful then as it is on a glorious early September day as it is today. It can appear to be quiet, and then you'll hear some distant contact calls from a range of birds, and you realise that you're not entirely alone. It's almost as if they're keeping in touch with you, at least if you allow them to and are aware of what's going on in the distance. A lot of what goes on in the woodland, I find, is quite often difficult to appreciate, difficult to see. You can't actually see the trees growing, but if you take photographs over successive years of the same bit of woodland or any kind of habitat, you'll see those changes then. From day to day, you don't see them. It's all ever changing while appearing to remain the same, I think. A nuthatch. And we've lost the sun. At least for a minute. It's as good as any holiday. An hour in some deciduous woodland. I think it recharges you, it revitalises you. Being in woodland on a nice day, even in winter. In winter it's a bit more invigorating and revitalising, but the two can go together. But each season, woodland offers something for those who are prepared to sit and listen.